Hey dudes, it's Lerald, and we've got another big update to Toxic Rain Pathfinder for you here. I think this will probably be the last one of the league, not because I'm bored of the character, not at all. I've been doing a lot of, like currency farm strategy stuff with it lately, but I just don't feel like there are really many more upgrades available at this point. I kind of feel like I've hit not the end of the road. I could definitely spend hundreds of divines on each upgrade, but that's kind of where I'm at. And I think, rather than spending like a full-fledged tier 17 blasting build on every single remaining piece of gear, I'd kind of rather just move on and put together some other builds. But this is the final state of the build. I'm very happy with it. Definitely I could push it into a mirror tier level, but I just don't feel like doing that. So I think that's basically enough intro. Let's get into it, but first be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join our new Discord. The link is in the description. We'll see you there. Alright, so on to the update. Really, I haven't made that much in the way of changes from the last time around. I have switched over to a Widowhail. I think I talked about that in the last video. And you can see this is one that I bought that was enchanted. The goal here really with a Widowhail is just for it to have 250% increased bonuses from gain from equipped quiver. That's crucial, and then you have to have a really good quiver in order for that to work. You want one of the corruption implicits to be increased attack speed. Now it can range from 3 to 5%. If you get one that somebody enchanted, or you do this yourself, which is, quite a pain. But if you enchant it, harvest enchant it yourself, you'll get 2% attack speed as long as you have it at, above 16% quality. So that means that theoretically the difference between a 3% corrupt like I have here and the harvest enchant giving 2%, or just a no enchant and a 5% attack speed is nothing. There's no difference between, 3 plus 2 and 5, right? So it's the same. The other corruption implicit, the added fire damage, totally irrelevant, doesn't matter. It's really just about maximizing the bonuses from that quiver. And this is something that a typical rare bow doesn't have going for it, is the life that you get out of the quiver. If you get a T1 or T2 life roll out of crafting a quiver, which I won't go through all the steps of crafting a quiver. It really is quite painful. I think I covered it in the last video, and I know that we've covered it in the previous complete gear crafting guide for Toxic Rain Pathfinder, which I'll put a link to that into the description. I am definitely going to update that video at some point, but I just haven't gotten to it yet because it is like a couple hours long, and it really took a lot of time to put together. So having a Widowhail has this multiplicative effect on the quiver. Obviously, it applies to like tons of attack speed. We could see the attack speed difference without the quiver is like pretty significant, obviously. But then more importantly, all of the damage, you're just getting this huge multiplier on both of those T1 dot multi bonuses, and the move speed is also pretty nice. Like you can see the move speed difference too. It's noticeable. The life is just this really huge multiplier on your health, like 5892 versus 4841. Like obviously, if I put on another bow, like I'd still have like 5k life or so, but like it's a pretty significant multiplier. So in order for this to work and not be a downgrade from a rare bow, you do need a corrupted lightning coil or corrupted chest, right? It doesn't have to be a lightning coil, but I do think lightning coil is the best option because of the fizz taken as lightning being this huge improvement on, the biggest weakness that Pathfinder innovation builds have is they just get annihilated by big physical hits, medium-sized physical hits even, really. So you get 50% converted to lightning with the coil, 7% out of the Eldritch implicit from your helm, so that's like 57%. And then the Merc that I'm running, I'm taking advantage of Pyroshock Clasp to convert a full 30% into fire and lightning damage. So that winds up being, 87% of damage is taken as elemental. So you're only taking about 13% of damage from most enemies, because the Merc isn't like 100% reliable, but the rest is. So anywhere from 57 to 87% of physical damage you're taking is elemental, which you're then getting anywhere from like 75 to 85% damage reduction on that. Pretty good. All right, I got into editing and realized I'd missed the point here with the corruption implicits, probably because of how smart I am. So here's the deal with the corruption implicits on your body armor. The reason that you're able to swap off of a Widowhail is that you're able to get gem levels out of the corruption implicits on your body armor. So there's like several different options that can all work that are all roughly interchangeable, +1 to level of socketed gems, like all of them, efficacy and power, etc. Like that is the most important because it applies to all of your support gems, not just to Toxic Rain. And If it applies to Empower, that is another level for Toxic Rain. So it's just straight up better than everything else. The other options are if we go to pathofexile, which I have pulled up here. AoE gems, that'll work on Toxic Rain. Projectile gems, that'll work on Toxic Rain. Duration gems, that'll work on Toxic Rain. Most of the rest of these like don't have any of those tags. Mirage Archer has duration support, but then like none of the others have. I guess Awakened Vicious Barrage has projectile, but like Empower doesn't have any tags. Efficacy doesn't really have any tags. So duration, I suppose. So duration, I guess, is the second best. Projectile would be like the third. AoE would be the worst, but by almost no margin at all. But there you go. That's it, right? You're trying to get gym levels out of your corruption implicits in order to make it so that using a Widowhail instead of a +3 level standard crafted rare bow is doable. Without that, like if you only have 1 plus gym level corruption implicit, whichever one it is, it'll maybe be a little better. Certainly you'll get the extra like life and move speed, so I think it'll be better quality of life wise, but you really do want to have both. And that can get kind of expensive. Like I did double corrupting Alva Temples to make 2 of these, and I sold one of them off for like 100 divines. So, you know, definitely a good way to make some money. But yeah, bit of work to actually like self-craft these, and pretty expensive to buy them because it is so much work to craft them. So I have found that this build feels incredibly tanky now, and just to hit on another thing that I've changed more recently, I picked up a Progenesis. I did play around with trying to do a ring craft. This is like the last thing that I thought like, maybe I'll play around with this. I bought a nice Iolite ring with a rarity corrupt because like all the ones that had like a good, nice life corrupt or fracture, I should say, a nice like life fracture on them were like, 15, 20 divines or whatever. This one I picked up for less than a divine. And I started rolling it with essences, and normally, I think historically, the way I've said to do this is, I think it's Hysteria. I don't even have any of them. Corrupted Essence costs like 35 chaos each, gives you dot multi guaranteed. However, if you use Noxious Catalyst to increase the chaos component, the chaos damage, the implicit of an Iolite ring is chaos damage. With that, it goes up to 27%. So if you use Essences of Envy, Deafening Essences of Envy, these give you % increased chaos damage, and it's pretty close to use these Deafening Essences of Envy. These cost like 3 chaos each as opposed to like 35, and you really do have to spam roll like quite a while to get like good, because what I'm ultimately looking for is like really strong resistances to replace this ring, which has just an insane amount of resistances on it. And the main reason I would want to do this is I was Chaos Res capped before using the Progenesis, or very close to it, and now that I have that, I'm just like way over the Chaos Res cap, which is fine. Just sort of feels like a waste stat budget wise. But this would require like multiple tier 1 resistance rolls in order to like be usable, and probably some wiggling of some like other resistances around using the Harvest crafting bench. So kind of a pain to do. And ultimately, I just felt like it wasn't actually going to be that humongous of a damage increase. But ultimately, the difference between using Deafening Essences of Envy or the, again, I think it's Hysteria, whatever Corrupted Essence, it doesn't really matter. It's like 0.1% damage increase, so not really worth spending 10 times as much. In terms of all the gear that I've crafted, I think I haven't made any real upgrades to like the helm or gloves or boots since the last video. I've been some comments, some questions about like why not use like a higher level base, and I think there's 2 reasons. One, like instead of using like a grizzly pelt or lion pelt, using the absolute best helm base is like just 10 times more expensive. And then the other thing is that because the rest of this build is like constructed around using blue Eldritch Altar modifiers, like I'm overcapping cold and lightning res by around 60 points each, so that I can just always take the player modifier if I want to from blue Eldritch Altars. One of the modifiers that comes from that is you have reduced defenses per frenzy charge. I'm usually using 3. For a while, I had not taken this jewel node here. I had just taken like this extra frenzy charge just for simplicity, so I was running 4. So that ultimately will lower your defenses like massively. We have no energy shield. We have a negligible amount of armor, so neither of those matter. But the evasion that we were getting, since I am getting grace out of the Mercenary, is actually pretty good. With that modifier in play, it's 0. while you're running around. You just have 0 armor, 0 evasion, 0 energy shield, and it's fine because of all the fizz taken as elemental and all of the life coming back from your life flask in conjunction with Tides of Time. You're regenerating like 3,200 life per second. It doesn't matter that you have none of those stats, but it also means that spending an extra like 15-20 divines on each of your glove, helm, boots base literally doesn't do anything because 0 is 0 either way. All right, so yeah, honestly, that is it in terms of gear upgrades, changes that I've made to the build in a substantial way. I did hit level 99. I did take this 2-point node here to get a jewel slot. Like I said, I was using Fervor for a while just out of simplicity. But having kind of played around with this and then played around with the like 2-cluster jewel version that I've used in the past, I'm really happy with this central setup here. I think if I look at my PoB DPS, it's something like 27, 28 million DPS. That is using a correctly balanced level 1 Despair, which is coming from Mercenary gloves. You know, if I were in some way self-casting Despair or getting a Merc that was self-casting Despair, it would be a little bit more, but then you have to make sacrifices elsewhere in order for that to work. So I'm pretty happy with this. Like I said, I've been blasting tier 17s that are very juiced. I've been doing like Deli Mirror farming on Tropical Island, which is significantly harder than tier 17s or tier 16.5s. Although I have also done it on 16.5. That's probably the hardest content I can find in the game, really. And just really, like, it's been working quite well. I did think about taking the character to level 100. Ultimately, I just said, like, you know, every time I would get to about 40, 50% or whatever, I would, like, do a really hard strategy that would kill me once and then kill me again. It's like, whatever. Get tilted, die a whole bunch of times, get back down to 0. So, you know, it can definitely go to 100. I just didn't feel like locking in on a very safe, slow, boring, grinded out kind of play style. One other thing that I mentioned in a previous video is Runegraft of the Warp. This is something that I'm running on just any old mastery. Buffs expire slower, debuffs expire faster. Most of the time, this is just all upside. Really good if you're doing a lot of shrine strategies, which I have been. Really good for that. The only downside I can really think of is that the drowning orbs in tier 17s and 16.5s do expire faster and they kill you as soon as they end, so this does mean you have less time to get out of those. For almost everything else, it is just a straight upgrade. Really good. I would use this on like every single build I play for the rest of the league, basically, because I'm a huge fan. All right, so we've had a couple of FAQs over the last few weeks of doing this build. Some of them I feel like I've already answered throughout the video. You know, I think in terms of upgrade paths, I already mentioned the Iolite Ring is something you could do, although you will have to compensate for the loss of resistances out of both the implicit and out of the suffix that you're spending on a Deafening Essence of Envy. So, you know, that does take some tweaking. I also think my Watcher's Eye could definitely be better. Right now, I'm basically just using a phasing Watcher's Eye, and then I'm getting the benefit of being poison immune while affected by Malevolence, although that doesn't really matter all that much. I did mention Progenesis. On a Pathfinder, Progenesis isn't insane. Like, the difference in tankiness between having and not having Progenesis is huge. I mean, this is a reason why this thing costs like 100 divines or whatever. Let's see. 75 divines now. Super expensive, but, you know, totally worth it. It really is like night and day just how tanky you are, especially on a Pathfinder, and especially using Tides of Time where you're getting massively increased effect of flasks on top of all of the extra flask effect you get out of your Ascendancy. You know, I know some people have asked, like, can you run a Headhunter with this build? I absolutely have, and I really do enjoy it. It's not as reliable, especially once you've switched over to using Progenesis, or if you're using Progenesis to cap Chaos Res, then it's really like a lot less reliable, but it is really fun when you're doing, I would say, like a little bit less dangerous content. Like if I were doing Super Juice tier 17s, probably would stick with, well, I have stuck with the Tides of Time because I did try playing around with Headhunter and had bad results. Mixed results, I'll say. Tides of Time, no issue in Juice tier 17s. As for doing a Mage Blood, I feel like that's kind of like putting a hat on a hat. Like Pathfinder is the Mage Blood Ascendancy, right? You get Flask Effect, Flask Duration, Flask Charges, all of that. And so you can play with a Mage Blood on a Pathfinder. I've done it in the past. I don't really love it. I think Tides of Time like just very clearly sockets in as just like a Mage Blood replacement that's like 1% of the price. And then you can spend all of the currency you would on a Mage Blood on everything else that goes into the build. I do think playing a Mage Blood Toxic Rain like champion or trickster makes a lot of sense. I think that could be really amazing. That is something I'll probably play around with at some point. Maybe not this league though. But yeah, like Mageblood, Toxic Rain on one of the other two ascendancies that's kind of next to Pathfinder, I think could make a lot of sense. Now I'll just run through the Mercenary real quick. So I've played around with a lot of different Mercenaries. I've played around with I spent a lot of time trying to find other archers. We're finding archers that had like better support gems on their Ice Shot and Frigid Fork Shot, both of which are like really cool. I like these. Finding a Mercenary that has Grace and Vol Grace has been like pretty nice. The biggest thing I've run into that's like kind of a frustration is when you have a Mercenary that has Icicle Rain, they tend to spend a lot of time casting the skill, and I don't know what the deal is, but it doesn't seem to like chill and shock nearly as effectively as Frigid Fork Shot or Ice Shot. I think it maybe is like lots of small hits that just don't add up to a big shock or chill. And so like I actually kept this one around to dismiss her, even though she had better looking support gems on Ice Shot and Frigid Fork Shot, I thought, than Tatiana, who just has like some very small ones. I just get much better shocks and chills out of Tatiana than I do out of Nazca, so we're gonna let her go. Now I spent a lot of time looking for a nice lightning arrow mercenary that doesn't use Assassin's Mark, doesn't use precision, but has grace. I have not found one. I think she just might not exist. So it's a little unfortunate. I may wind up using this Thunder Quiver, this Lightning Arrow Mercenary for like a different build that would benefit from Assassin's Mark, but I'm not sure. As it currently stands, ultimately, I feel like the ultimate Merc for Toxic Rain Pathfinder is just simply an Ice Shot, Deadeye, essentially. And then I'm using Voltaxic Rift for, it makes her deal chaos damage and shock with the chaos damage. I'm withering on her behalf, so her chaos damage is going to hit way, way harder, and I'm a Pathfinder, so my wither does a lot more. It's like 135% damage increase for her. And then she's shocking as though she does 300% more damage. She's also wearing Pain Seekers with Temp Chains and Despair on them, so things are slowed quite a lot. They're Temp Chains. They're chilled, they're shocked, they're ignited for what that's worth, and also they have Despair on them, so they're taking a lot more chaos damage. They're getting like shocked and chilled as though a lot more damage is being dealt, and then that's being increased by Voltaxic Rift as well. The shock and the ignite are valuable just on their own. Well, ignite is not, but that converts a bunch of their damage into fire and lightning, which is good for my defenses. I'm also using this pair of veiled boots that I got just for the percent increased effect of non-damaging ailments modifier on the suffix, and then some life and resistances are fine, basically just kind of helping cap out her crappy resistances. And then the biggest upgrade I've made recently is just getting like some corrupts on some rings, getting like flat added lightning damage on a Call of the Void, flat added lightning damage and grace effect on a Winter Weave, percent increased LE damage with attack skills on a Rash Kaldor's Patience, and then enchanting that with Ash, Frost, and Storm, which is located here in the tree. That's that bonus. I can't remember what it costs to anoint it. Sepia and 2 Crimsons. Yeah, my keybind for making the thing show up is not working for some reason, so let's keep looking at Tatiana. So I really like Rash Kaldor's Patience. I've tried playing around with other amulets, and at least for this build, being able to guarantee that she is freezing, shocking, and igniting, really guaranteeing the ignite. You only need a little bit of fire damage, which you get out of Pain Seeker, and then Pyroshock Clasp is doing what it does. I'm also using a cost freeze will on her with reduced extra damage taken from crits. This helps her stay alive. Like you can see I have Order to Me keybound, and I hit that pretty commonly. Like I hit that and my life flask basically at the same time. And it heals for like 20 or 25% of her total health whenever you hit it. And so I would say the only times that she really ever dies are if I accidentally run a reflect map, she'll kill herself instantly. There've been a couple of times where I grip her into like some sort of deadly mechanic, like I'm running away from a strongbox that has enemies detonate nearby corpses, and I accidentally like pull her into that and kill her. And I would say that's basically it. And then the biggest thing is this nearby enemies have -9 chaos res helmet that is a hunter helmet that I just bought, had some resistances on it. And yeah, that's been really, really good for her. She's almost res capped. Not that that really matters at all, but like she has over 4k life. She's got a decent amount of corrupts on like all of her items, or good like Eldritch Implicits on all of them. Like I got an Ahuana's Bite with corrupted added lightning damage. You know, lots of good corrupts and everything going on with her gear. And yeah, I mean, she does a really good job of just like shocking and chilling all the time, and then getting like damage reduction and damage increase between Ahuana's Bite and Call of the Void out of the chills. You know, just really, really happy with this Mercenary. She's been pretty great for me. I definitely notice the times when I do accidentally kill her through my own mistakes, and then I have to finish the map without her. I feel a lot less tanky. I feel like I deal a lot less damage. So she's definitely been a real, like, I guess an off-meta Merc, since she's not using, you know, this setup, Doriani's prototype, and a bunch of, like, negative resist, right? So there's that, but she's been really, really good for me. All right, I got to the end and realized I had missed something I wanted to mention with respect to the Mercenary, and that's just simply all the custom modifiers, which I think I've talked about before, but I just want to reiterate here so there's no, like, confusion or whatever. These custom modifiers, the nearby enemies have a 9% minus res. You know, that is added in specifically because that's on the Merc, a 40% max effective shock. The fact that shock is on, that chill is on, that chill, like, you know, lessens enemy damage dealt and causes them to take more damage. All of that is in the custom config because it's applying to the Merc, and, you know, you can play around with it. Any of this where you just put, like, the hash in front, you know, that essentially that comments out that line. You can see it's either working and it's in blue, or it's not working and it's in red. And yeah, I think, you know, this little bit of stuff to like do kind of a workaround on the Merc is like really, really effective as a way to kind of simulate what they're bringing to the table. Now, as for using a second cluster, I did think about it, but I think that this setup in the middle of the tree just gives you like so much value. The combination of Light of Meaning and Unnatural Instinct in the middle here is just so good that I just don't think that like having an extra cluster stretching down here, spending all the points to come down that way and get an extra cluster added in really like would be good enough to justify losing all of this damage, all of this like utility, you know, all of the stuff that's like increased attack speed, you know, move speed, even just like the little stuff like the little Rango Kurai turtle tattoo. Like I just really like having all of that extra utility. So I think that pretty much wraps things up. You know, that is the update for Toxic Rain Pathfinder. It's insanely strong. I'm really, really happy with it. You know, it's my favorite build, right? I love it. You're also permitted to enjoy it. This is where I think I'm going to leave off on the character. Not that I'm done playing it, but I think I'm basically done upgrading it. I'm going to be pouring all the rest of my currency into other characters for the rest of the league, which I'm definitely still enjoying. This has been my favorite league in a while, if not ever. And I'm just really looking forward to even more of it and seeing what they have planned for us in PoE 2 in like a month or so. All right, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord. Say hello to me and Sunset if you haven't already. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us so we can keep making more PoE content, become a channel member as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.